likes of the Tommy Paul yesterday.
He's so flexible in his wrist, isn't he?
And at the top, it's sort of quite over. It's almost sort of a semi-western. It looks like left-handed forehand, and so I think that's one of the reasons why he's so strong on the cross-court return up high on the ad side, but also can hit it incredibly well down the line. He doesn't often have that racket face behind his wrist, Sam, and I think that the grip that he holds is a very strong grip, and I think it's hugely beneficial to him. It's also why he's able to get the little flip across court when players are in at the net at times.
Way back for Purcell now in this first meeting with the world number one. Trying to break the Aussie qualifier for the third time in this contest. Still great points.
Nice rotation in the serve. Gets that chest turned to the side and then in. Maybe could get a couple of bigger steps at the start off the push there to get a little bit more ground covered. I'll go back and have a look at some of Pat Rafter or Stefan Edberg's footage in terms of their footwork patterns out of the serve to try and get himself a little closer to the service line.
Purcell hanging on here.
Arguably the hardest shot in tennis, the backhand smash.
Juice. Longest of match. Say very few extended games in this contest. He just glides across the tennis court. That's woken everyone up from their mid-afternoon slumber.
Just an incredible shot.
looked as if he was nowhere near this, nowhere near. Wow.
Great reply.
Fourth juice in this game. If he spent all this time trying to get here from Toronto, he's going to want to stay out here as long as possible. If he doesn't take the same route to New York, surely there's a direct flight.
Feel as though he could have stayed back a couple of times on his second serve just to kind of mix things up.
It's where he feels safe though and so assured. Hasn't given himself too many difficult volleys out here this afternoon. That is the mark of someone who's good up there. That's an excellent hold from Love 40, and he's staying in touch when this final set could have got right away from him. Still work for Alcaraz to do, but up a break in this deciding set.
Great show of temperament and everything else and tactics to figure out a way to get through that very difficult game. Yeah, I just wanted to show you this on just what can Max do a little bit better on return, and I would have to say that obviously off the first serve there's very little that he can do in terms of it's dictated by Alcaraz's serve, but on the second, when you look at where he's contacting it, I'm not entirely sure that he's found the right place to stand to take it at a comfortable height within his power zone. It's getting a little bit too high at 1.6 meters for Max, and he stands at 1.85. That means he's taking it at around shoulder and above height, which is very difficult to control from up there on both sides. I wouldn't mind him trying to shave 10 centimeters out there, which would mean just maybe taking another sort of step forward inside that baseline to be able to kind of take that second serve. Of course, it is taking a little bit of time away from yourself to be able to pick up where Alcaraz is going to hit his second serve, especially if he goes body. But I think he'll be able to redirect a little bit better. He may be able to nudge and come in behind it. I think it's almost playing him at that height rather than him playing the ball. And important for him to find solutions just in the same way that the world number one was humble enough to find solutions himself.
Four balls, one off. Well, Alcaraz is quite enough for Purcell out here.
Why don't you try and pronounce it? But it's not actually Borg in Sweden, is it?
No.
Actually a Y at the end.
Yes,
It's a very funny sound. I was with some Danish people in Greece very recently, and we were running through a list of Scandinavian names. And none of us have been pronouncing it particularly close.
and that means castle though.
Yeah.
Familiar territory for Palace. There's been plenty of names over the years that we haven't been pronouncing correctly. double from his last service game to also at the same scoreline where he is now, so it's not really plain sailing. After going off a break. A little door opening here for the Aussie.
30-14.
Just shows you his passion for the game, that he's still willing to be away from his family for much of the year to get Carlos's side. We still have a ball game here, as they say in these parts. And Purcell, it was love 40 down in this last service game, hung on and has found a way back into this deciding set. That wasn't in the script. What Tommy Paul was not able to do last night.
Good discipline from Max, and then he flattened the forehand out at the end, and Alcaraz trying to temper his natural enthusiasm to go after the shots, trying to outlast the Australian, which has worked pretty well. Not that time. Hard-earned investment in that previous hold of serve for the Australian, and he's just earned his interest.
Upping the ante here.
Lethal foot speed. Delicate touch on the sliding pass there, just to keep it low and skim it over the net. Remarkable.
Oh, what a smart volley that was.
20-15.
That really was a doubles volley, wasn't it? Just go straight back deep, don't give any angle. Oh, straight back to work.
And that's one of the things you have to understand in this game. You can play kind of the perfect point and still not come away with it. It was a great change of direction on the serve there from Max Purcell. Just a brilliant return from the Spaniard.
Yeah, can he find a first serve right here, as he did in the last game? That's what he did at Love 40. First serve, first serve, first serve to get himself back to juice.
Just the same as that last break point at Love 40. Alcaraz leaning to his forehand side, so he's got him guessing.
Great judgment. Just wonder what an impact the early evening shadow is going to have on Max Purcell in terms of not easy to serve volley, is it, with the ball coming out of the shade into the light and vice versa. Needs to make hay here. And the Aussie qualified backing himself all the way and recovers at the break deficit to move ahead 3-2 in this deciding set.
Amazing the small differences between players and careers and margins at times, and obviously that was something that Max Purcell touched on after their dramatic Wimbledon victory last year with Matt Ebden. The margins in this sport are so thin, and perhaps just on the back of that has allowed him also just to look at situations with a little bit more perspective. Up a break in the final set against Andy Murray in Canada, wasn't able to close that out. Down a break this week in the final set against the world number one, and who knows, a different outcome still beckoning here for the Australian.
Just get the sense that he's learning quickly, isn't he, now on the upper echelons of the tour.
And he's made believers out of the other Australians. There was a number of them down in Australia that didn't really feel as though he had much of a game, Max Purcell. Some of them close to the top of the Australian pyramid, and from that point of view, credit to him that he's put his head down. He's had his say when he feels as though he's been a little bit hard done by in some of the judgments and decisions that have gone against him, but he's let his racket do the talking all the way through 2023. He's shown how tough he is playing through with that fractured foot. Perhaps had he had a more successful career, he would have taken the French and Wimbledon off, but who's going to turn down a potential 100,000 payday when you've been working as hard as he has to get the ranking?
Last game before the new balls. rhythm. Second serve. Consecutive dinner, which he's thrown in a double fault. A little faster actually in the second service game of the previous set.
Well, he's trying to find depth, isn't he, to try and keep Purcell back. Beautiful rainbow shade forehand down the line. He took the net out of play, just worked very hard to get it as tight to the sideline but as deep as possible, and there was treasure at the end of it. Another hole to serve, and one that was desperately needed.
Well, Max Purcell very much riding a wave of Aussie success in the post-Wimbledon. So many of the players that deep in the bigger tournaments. So new balls. Currently there are more Aussie men in the world's top 100 than Spaniards. 8 in total. Steeman, finalist last week in Los Cabos, leading the way. That's dropped.
15 over.
And if we'd had a more traditional camera angle, we would have seen it. There we are. I wonder if Carlos has ever played anyone that's come at it this much, first and second serve. Hard to prepare for this kind of contest.
40-15.
And Australia's starting to throw in more and more double faults, 8 in total. So into double figures now in the ace count.
He hasn't taken on Maxime Cressy in his career, so I would think that this is the most anyone's attacked him.
40-13.
He really has brought the beach, hasn't he, to this part of America's Midwest. And we love him for it. So, 15 back to Juice. Suddenly this game a little more complicated. He's got everything but his surfboard out there. He might need that as well to get over the line in his first meeting with the world number one. the first time in this deciding set. 4-3, Purcell leads. And won a Masters 1000 main draw match before last week in Toronto, and he looks like a guy that is backing himself.
Yeah, and again, as I say, these conditions are certainly playing into his hands. The confidence that he's lugged around the world is right here on Stadium Court in Cincinnati. And not only that, he has got a game that is clearly uncomfortable for many players. You think about how well Andy returns, and to be up a break against him in the third set is not going to be easy when you kind of have this style of play. He's implemented it absolutely perfectly, and Alcaraz is just starting to feel a little anxious that he doesn't have the answers that he had in that second set, where he moved through it relatively serenely, went up the early break here, couldn't take the second one. And those things will be percolating around inside the world's #1's head, and maybe Purcell here can take advantage of it. There is a little bit of fragility around the second serve of Alcaraz, caused by the way that Purcell plays.
So packed stadium, staying to find out.
Time.
As he qualified on debut here in Cincinnati up against a reigning US Open champion. A couple of breaks in this deciding set, we're back on serve.
50 left.
Don't mind that miss at this stage. He needs to let Alcaraz know that there is a potential threat off that forehand side. Can't allow the world #1 to be too comfortable trading cross-court into it.
Hasn't been able to really bring off that combination too much this afternoon.
Juan Carlos has just encouraged Carlitos to play with that kind of creativity, the kind of aggression that we've become accustomed to. He's never really reined him in. The only time was once after a challenger match where he almost took the drop shot every single point, and he banned him for the match after it.
Whoa.
Max power from Purcell.
Alcaraz, who dazzles on defence, simply beaten by the sizzle off the forehand here from Purcell.
Tigas dula yang Alcaraz ng Cincinnati.
What a fascinating contest. Alcaraz rather relieved to get a more straightforward service game. Still had to work pretty hard there, and
4 games stop.
they don't bother taking the Spanish flag down in the stadium. You might as well leave it up there. There's always going to be one. He'll be here for the week. Shadow across this centre court more prominent now. How difficult is it for Alcaraz with that ball coming out of the shade?
I mean, I think it's difficult for both of them right now, especially with Purcell being the one that's sort of shortening the court by coming in. He's also going to get a little less time to kind of pick it up. He's already sort of indicated today that he struggled to see perhaps out of the advertising boards. Not a good enough serve. And he got picked off comfortably.
Quickly, you can get in trouble against the world number one. He's thrown in his fair charitable thoughts as well in this deciding set, and he finds himself at love 40 where he was just a couple of service games ago. First serves required. Alcaraz back in front and one game away from a place in the last 4.
Alcaraz leads 5 games to 4.
Don't know what that looked like to you, Mark, but just like a little lapse in intensity from Purcell, some of the first that we've really seen in the course of this contest.
That was just a great stab return on the first point that kind of got him into that particular sort of situation where Purcell was at the back of the court, which is where he's not been for the majority of his service games. And then Purcell didn't hit a particularly great first serve on the next point, and Alcaraz picked him up. And that's the difference. You look at the stats in terms of when a player picks up the opening couple of points against an opponent, and there's a good chance they're going to go on to break. And there was just an awful lot of pressure on him that he wasn't able to handle at that particular stage. But again, for one so young, his composure in these moments when the bullseye is most definitely on him, and somebody like Max Purcell, who's just got into the world's top 50, is kind of taking him on. He just doesn't seem to get frightened in those big moments. If anything, he grows in courage, does Alcaraz. And once again, it has allowed him to serve out for a match where he has been under pressure.
Loh, trabaho pag Chris.
Perfect start. A point that he absolutely needed.
15.
Ang sa? Patro ko mag-start.
And credit to him for having the courage to get after that forehand.
Listing na. Yung gitagawan kag 9-10. Nag-shift ko 15, 16, 17. Problema na ko ani 18 lang ba na sa mga. Kaya ang oras ko na ko nakita na. Ang oras na ko nakita na. 18 hours na ko. Kailangan nila mabuo. Saan na nila ito?
15 on.
Hindi na kung buwa sa taas.
You can focus on the miss, but the couple of defensive shots from Alcaraz were special. It was a good returner serve from the Australian.
Pagkamandi ako po.
Well, he's found himself in a deciding set in every one of his rounds here in Cincinnati. Of course, 12 months ago, lost in a decider in the quarterfinals at this stage to Britain's Cam Norrie.
The deal.
Oi!
Still, Purcell comes back at him.
30-14.
Chance for the Aussie to level up here.
Use.
Well, at the start of the match, we were a little worried, weren't we, about the Purcell forehand, but it hasn't really been a major issue out here today. That was one of the rare loose ones.
Advantage, Alcaraz.
Well, for over 2 hours, he's been trying to fend off a serving and volleying Aussie maverick. It's been quite a problem for the world number one, the 20-year-old, to solve. But now the Spaniard a chance to move into the last four.
Again, centre back from
Alcaraz finds a way. He's into the Cincy semi-finals.
Great tournament for Purcell, great match today against the world's best. Men's ranking is that he is figuring out a way superbly when pushed.
It's all part of his education, and it continues here in Cincinnati. He comes from a set down, 4-6, 6-3, 6-4. And for Max Purcell, the Aussie qualifier, who played so well in Toronto last week as well.
Thank you everyone.
And outwards
just click
to New
subscribe.
York, and let's hope, well, I don't think it'll be a private
gonna
jet.
end this one
Let's
now.
hope it's a bit more straightforward than his journey here. We certainly hope so. Well done, Max. And the Aussie flag has flown high in the suite. So two of the Aussies the remaining two Aussies are out in the quarterfinals. And Alcaraz remains to book his place to face Hubert Hurkacz in tomorrow's men's semi.
Who's the other Aussie? De Minaur?
Last night he wrote on the camera, "No more rain." What's he got for us here today?
No more servant volleys.
Yes, I think it might be. We'll have to wait until they flip it around. Yes, let's go.
And he spelled Cincinnati correctly.
Yes, not many of us do. Eyeing up another Masters
That's
title. So, semi-final lineup almost complete. Of course, Mannarino and Zverev.
That's gonna be a
they
tough
go.
match.
Zverev, a former champion here. They go at midnight over on the grandstand. Fritz Djokovic to round up the night session after the last of the women's quarterfinals. So, and it's not before
Another third setter game
in
for
the UK.
Cox.
Let's just have a little reminder of the wonderful contest that we've just seen.
Alright,
And
see you later.
Max Purcell brought his volley game to the